Why are we so afraid to speak? I don't mean just to talk, but to speak our truth. We stay silent in meetings, even when we have the perfect idea. We swallow our own opinions to avoid a simple disagreement with a friend. We have a voice. Every single one of us has one, but we choose not to use it. We lock it away. But what happens to a voice that is never used? What if finding that voice and finally using it was the most important act of your life? This was the question that Evan, a journalist, had forgotten to ask himself. He was a senior reporter, a professional voice. He sat in a loud, crowded press room, the air thick with anticipation and cheap coffee. On the podium, an official was delivering a smooth, practiced speech, and Evan knew, with the certainty that comes from years of experience, that the official was lying. He could feel the real question burning in his mind. A difficult question, a necessary question. But then he caught his boss's eye across the room. The look was a clear warning. Don't rock the boat. Evan's shoulders slumped. He sighed, a quiet, defeated sound lost in the room's noise. He asked the safe question, the approved question, the useless question. And in that moment, the self-disgust was overwhelming. He was a voice for a living, but he had completely lost his own. His work, ironically, led him away from the noise, chasing a different story. A historical thread. Evan found himself in the city's vast old library archive. The silence was a shock to his system. It felt heavy, almost annoying. He was looking for a specific political record, something he deemed important, something loud from the past, but he couldn't find it. Frustrated, he approached the only other person in the cavernous room, an older librarian, quietly absorbed in her work. Her name was Ilara, and she was meticulously mending a small, simple, handwritten book, her fingers moving with a gentle reverence that seemed entirely out of place in Evan's fast-paced world. He couldn't hold back his cynicism. "I'm wasting my time," he vented, his voice echoing in the quiet. "It's all useless. My voice, these old records, none of it means anything. The world only listens to the loudest voice, the most popular book." He gestured angrily toward a distant display in the main hall, the bestsellers section. "That's all that matters." Ilara looked up, a calm, knowing smile gracing her lips. She gently placed her tools down and led him out of the archive and over to the bright, shiny display of bestsellers. She picked one up, its cover glossy and bold. "This book," she said, her voice soft but clear, "is an echo." Evan frowned. "An echo? It's a bestseller. It's powerful. It is loud," she agreed, "but it only tells people what they already think. It bounces their own ideas back at them, just a little louder. It's comfortable. It validates. It doesn't challenge. It is just noise." She placed the book back on the pile and beckoned him to follow her back into the deep, quiet hush of the archives, to a section marked Special Collections. The air here felt different, sacred. She walked over to her workbench and picked up the very same small, handwritten book she had been mending. She handed it to him. The leather was worn, the pages fragile. "This," she said, her eyes meeting his, "is a voice." Evan held it carefully. "What is it?" "A farmer's diary. From over 100 years ago. No one ever published it. He never tried to. He just wrote. He wrote his truth about the weather, about his hopes for the harvest, about his family, about his small, everyday fears and his quiet joys." She leaned in slightly, her voice dropping to almost a whisper, yet it filled the entire room. "You, Evan, are trying to be an echo. You are chasing the noise, hoping if you shout loud enough, you'll be heard over the rest. You have forgotten your voice. A voice is not about volume. It is about truth. That bestseller out there is a gong. You strike it. It makes a loud, impressive sound, but it is hollow. It fades quickly. A true voice, she paused, tapping the little diary in his hands, is a tuning fork. It is quiet. It is pure. Its note is true. And when you strike it, you don't just hear a sound. You feel a vibration. It makes the world around it ring true. Stop trying to be a gong, Evan. Find your tuning fork. Evan stood frozen, the weight of the small diary feeling immense in his hands. He opened it to a random page. The handwriting was simple. The ink faded. He read a single sentence, written by a man long since gone, about the fear that a late frost might kill his apple blossoms. A simple sentence, an honest sentence, a true sentence, and it was like a bolt of lightning. The world fell away. He saw it all with a sudden, shocking clarity. He had been chasing volume, not truth. He had been so desperate to be heard, he forgot to have something to say. His lost voice wasn't gone, it was just buried under the noise of his boss's expectations, the industry's demands, and his own fear. In that quiet archive, holding a farmer's forgotten truth, he finally knew what he had to say. The next press conference, the same room, the same official on the podium, spinning the same smooth lines, the same boss in the same spot, watching. Everything was the same, except for Evan. He raised his hand. When the microphone came to him, he didn't look at his pre-approved safe notes. He stood up. He looked the official directly in the eye, and he asked the real question, the hard question, the true question. A sudden, sharp silence fell over the entire room. It was more profound than the quiet of the library. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw his boss's face, a mask of pure fury. The official on stage was stunned, stammering, his polished composure shattering. In that moment, Evan had no idea if he would have a job tomorrow. He had no idea what would happen next. But for the first time in years, standing alone in that sea of silenced reporters, he felt powerful, truly powerful. He was no longer an echo. He was a voice, and it was ringing true.